everyone. Welcome to episode 113 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and this week's topic is Best Creed Song. I feel that I must warn the audience, if you have an aversion to soul patches, studded belts, and graphic tees, and if you refuse to keep both your mind and your arms wide open, you may want to brace yourself, because yes, we are talking about none other than Creed. We're taking you to a simpler time, that long-begotten era between the late 90s and the early 2000s where rock stars looked and sounded like youth pastors, videos looked like they were filmed in wind tunnels, and the fate of the world seemed to be the theme of just about every song. No band exemplified this more than Creed. Although Creed seemed like the butt of many jokes, you cannot deny their moment in the sun. They came in with earnest lyrics, soaring theatrical vocals, heavy riffs, and they knew how to get loud and how to get attention. Remember, this was an era where their rock contemporaries were implementing rap, destruction, and terrible barbed wire arm tattoos. Creed, however, mostly stayed the straight and narrow. Stapp was Eddie Vedder turned to 11, and although the band embraced a more modern rock style, they didn't stray too far from the early 90s influence most bands left behind. For 5 years, Creed had a remarkable run. 35 million albums sold out tours. You couldn't turn on MTV or your favorite rock station without hearing them. Over 20 years later, they have nearly been all but forgotten. Bands that had their apex during a similar time, bands like Stain, Korn, Linkin Park, even Nickelback are still embraced by modern rock stations. Creed's music has all but disappeared. Maybe it was the tightrope they walked between being a Christian rock band and being not so Christian, as they claimed. Maybe it was the lingering residue of Scott Stapp's behavior, his drug abuse, and his Messiah-like tendencies and ridiculous claims that his band will someday be as big as Led Zeppelin. Maybe it was the undeniable current of social pressures of the band just being too damn much, too damn fast, and they weren't singing about anything cool. They were singing about stuff like religion, judgment, fatherhood, sacrifice, arms. Rock at the time wasn't receiving these particular messages, and Creed trailed off once they asked us to take them higher. But this week, we're here to remember them. For this week, Formidable Opponents debates and discusses Best Creed Song. With me, as always, are two guys who always make me feel as if I'm in my own prison during this podcast. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing?
The devil's got arms, and he uses them wide open.
Wait, what are we doing today? Best Creed Song?
Fuck this, I'm out.
Seriously, I just heard the news today, guys. Fuck, I wasn't prepared for this.
Hello, my friends. We meet again.
What's up, everybody?
We welcome our listeners with arms wide open. So, welcome everybody.
No, sir. No, sir. You're in your own prison. Go back to your cell.
How are you guys doing?
Good. What's going on, everybody? I think
a little under the weather. Voice is a little off.
Bob's he's sounding extra sexy today, I guess.
More and more like Barry White instead of Barry Manilow.
We're talking about Creed this week, the much maligned, often forgotten. They've had a minor resurgence as of late, but let's talk about our history with Creed. We're going to talk a little bit about what went right, what went wrong, how they trailed off. So let's start off with these opening questions. Do you guys remember where you were when you first heard Creed? Give everyone your impressions of the band. Do you guys remember that moment?
I do. One of my best friends in junior high, she invited me to church, and it was like a Pentecostal church. And when we went in, they were actually playing this song, and it was like a youth pastor. And he starts reading off the lyrics to My Own Prison and how it related to the Bible. And I was like, holy shit. It kind of like blew my mind how they're combining the two. I know what Randall said before, but contrary to popular belief, they were not a Christian rock band.
Yes.
Scott Stapp has said it himself. We weren't Christian. There was a lot of Christian undertones in the lyrics that even when his bandmates, made aware of it, they're like, "Hey, what the fuck, man? We didn't sign up for it. They all wanted to be rock stars. They all wanted to be Led Zeppelin. They didn't sign up to be a Christian rock band." Although there's a lot of lyrics that are definitely Christian and definitely fall under that category. But I thought it was really cool that's how I got introduced to the band, through that experience at the youth pastor group, and I thought it was really, really, really cool, man. I like a lot of their music, and I never, at that age when I was in high school, I didn't really feel like I was listening to Christian rock. I just felt like it was listening to really good rock music.
Yes, let's just be clear, everybody. There's nothing wrong with being a Christian rock band. Okay,
Yeah,
so
for
we're
sure.
not we're not attacking Christianity here. All right, let's drop that.
We're Mexican. We're okay.
All right. But no, I do remember specifically, and I would love to tell this story, but it's actually kind of part of what I'm going to discuss later. So I will do a throwback to this question, forego my answer, excuse me, to later when I tell a little bit of story about my selection and whatnot. I will kind of answer this question. So if you can hold out till then, ladies and gentlemen.
Joseph, you have to answer this question. I mean, what's this life for? Come on. So I'll tell you the first time I heard Creed. I was in college. I was a little older than both of you. I heard my
a little. I knew that was coming.
I heard My Own Prison, and that song alone inspired me to buy the album. I didn't know who Creed was. I just heard this one song, and I thought, okay, this is going to be a band that I'm going to follow. I didn't know too many people at the time who enjoyed them. So they were kind of like my secret shame. Most people at the time would rather be caught masturbating than listening to Creed. That was kind of their reputation.
Jesus Christ.
Listening to Creed was like, it was like getting up in the middle of the night to microwave a Totino's pizza. You end up feeling guilty for something that's only okay. So remember how back in the day, people would rifle through your CD collection in the car, in your bedroom, living room, and judge you on what you listen to. Was there a more maligned CD to own than Creed? I mean, how many times do we have to lie and say, that's my girlfriend's CD? Then they'd equate her taste in music to her taste in men. I mean, did you guys ever have to like defend yourself with a Creed song or a Creed CD? Has that ever happened to you?
No, because we didn't hang out with pretentious people. That's the way to go, Randall. You need better friends. No, actually,
not at all.
When we were in high school, Creed was kind of a popular band. There was a lot of like that alternative hard rock bands that came alive like from 1998 to 2002, 2003 when this kind of music was really gaining popularity. So I don't think that there was any they were a popular band when we were in high school, to be honest with you.
You know, and one of the things we're going to talk about a lot is Scott Stapp, because he embodied Creed. Everybody thinks about his over-the-top theatrical vocals, how he was a very charismatic but yet a controversial singer at times. Give everyone your thoughts on Scott Stapp as a vocalist. How do you rate him? What do you think about him?
He's not a bad vocalist. He's not. He was very comparable to what was popular at the times. You know what? Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. A lot of bands sound the same. It's just kind of how you do it. And they were trying to do what was trendy and what was popular. Or he was trying to sound like what was popular. He was a fan of grunge music and that whole sound. So I mean, if this is what you want to do in life, which he wanted to make music, wanted to be a singer, you're gonna take after what influenced you. So as a vocalist, I got no problems with his voice. He's actually a very good vocalist. I think weirdly enough, he's connected to Scott Weiland, this band called Art of Anarchy that released an album a few years ago. They did this whole thing with Scott Weiland, and it was supposed to be this kind of like this super group situation, but Weiland he said he was just a hired gun. But anyway, their second album, they got Scott Stapp to sing on it after, unfortunately, Weiland had passed. It was connected. They're connected. He's connected with that sound. He's connected with that vocal type. There's nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. I think he's actually a good singer.
I think he's got one of those voices that really stands out in the early 2000s. I think he's got a really good voice. He's not afraid to, like, he has some growl, he has some grit to his voice. He can sing loudly and rock hard, and he can also sing in harmony and harmonize some of his more like poppy commercial songs. In order for you to have a band that has as much success, we can make fun of them all. We had as much success as Creed has, or as a lot of the bands had in that era. If you had some success, you had to have had a lead singer that has some kind of great voice, unique voice, something, right? They have to bring something to the table. And I think that he had something like that.
He had the look. He had the style. He was
I don't know about style. I don't know about style.
Okay.
At the time,
he had that style.
If you love Jesus and leather pants and wife beaters, Scott Stapp is for you.
What's the term I'm looking for? He was
tight like a tiger.
No, like
Christ-like.
No, not Christ-like. I mean, that he had presence. He did. There was when he was singing.
He
definitely had a presence. I agree.
Maybe it was in the way. Maybe it was in the way that he posed, or while he was singing.
Can we talk about that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
He was charismatic, like he was. Like,
yes. He overdid it with
looked at
his
him.
singing,
Yeah,
but he was very
he
dramatic when
yes.
he sang, though. He
Very
was
dramatic.
a little too over the top with his
He drew people
his
to him
singing.
with how he sang, how he the arm movements while he was
Yeah, he
singing
fist bumped a
and
lot.
whatnot.
Like he was fist bumping Jesus a shitload in a lot of those videos. You're like,
You
Jesus
know,
Christ, settle down.
and
Not literally,
people-
like settle down, dude.
It got people's attention. Like, I mean, it is what it is. And he had a good voice, so
He had a really good voice. I like him.
And I think the important thing is that, you know, the two most butt of every joke bands are from that era are Nickelback and Creed. I think the difference is
and the letter A.
I think Nickelback, they look like guys who work at your tire shop. Creed were actually good-looking dudes. So I think that brought more attention, that brought more women to their concerts, more fandom. And I think as far as Scott Stapp as a vocalist, we had this thing going around in the 90s where vocalists just blatantly mispronounce vowels. These very just unnecessary enunciations. I think Eddie Vedder was patient X when it came to this, but nobody was a bigger offender.
Y and Z, fuck.
Nobody was a bigger offender than Scott Stapp. Even on their first single, My Own Prison, a court is in session, a verdict is in, throws in a sad day of Laos. You know, I mean, the way he pronounces these words, I know he could hold a note longer than a CVS receipt, but I feel like that compression method he practiced went too far overboard, and the more he developed his Christ complex, the worse it got. I heard Stapp on a podcast recently. He was saying that his kids listen to his songs and they make fun of him and what a terrible singer he is. So, I mean, at least he's in on the joke now. At least he's got some humility and self-awareness. But at the time, he had none of that.
Because we look at, there's two bands from this era. And I know you mentioned Nickelback earlier. They're both, and it seems like they've both embraced it at this point. I mean, like, I don't know if we're going to, we might talk a little bit about the whole Alter Bridge situation, basically.
We are.
The whole band going, that whole thing. But these two bands, and mainly, I guess, because Scott Stapp's personality was its own thing separate from the band, I think. And obviously that's kind of what was the downfall of the band. The band was like, the band moved on. It's funny how these two bands, who we've talked about Nickelback already, had good songs. We picked our favorite song, or what we thought was the best song from that band. And they're both like the meme bands today. They're the band that you're like we make fun of them. We're making fun of them, yes, but I hope people understand it in a respectful way, because we are going to talk about like good songs and songs that we think are good. It's funny, and it's interesting how these two bands from kind of the same time frame, massively successful, are punchlines now. It's just weird.
It's weird because I would think like Smash Mouth is more of a punchline than fucking Creed, but we haven't done them yet. Maybe we'll do them next year.
I think
Clearly walking on the moon.
Son.
I think Three Doors Down is like, thank God Nickelback and Creed were there, because we escaped that. Two-part
question. Actually.
Well, now they're here without them, baby.
Two-part question.
Good songs too, actually.
They have a couple of good songs. Two-part question, guys. Why did Creed succeed and why did Creed fail?
I think Scott Stapp is the answer to both questions.
Yes, exactly, bro.
I think that they succeeded. Not only that, I mean, their guitars, the sound was really good, dude. They had a definite mix of songs. Like I said earlier, they had these commercial, very poppy, great chorus songs that you could sing along with, songs that were instantly recognizable on the radio. And then they had these harder rock songs. I mean, like My Own Prison was, I mean, it's good, man. They had a good mix of music, and Scott Stapp's voice was really, really great. He was very much a popular frontman, a recognizable frontman. And I think because of him, they stood out and they became very popular. They had a great sound. They had great musicians, and Scott Stapp, took him to that next level. And at the same time, because he was involved in alcohol and he was involved in drugs, and the kind of like the superstardom life kind of caught up to him, like it does to a lot of rock stars. That rock star life caught up to him, the band members as well. They didn't feel comfortable. Like, hey, dude, we're here drinking and partying, and you're doing, God knows what, and drugs and everything. And you're here singing Christian lyrics, and we got a lot of Christian people like coming up to us and thanking us for the lyrics and thanking us for their music. And like, we feel, I know on one of the quotes was the band felt like hypocrites. They're like, we're being hypocritical. We can't do both. Like, we can't have those kind of lyrics to those kind of fans, sell to those kind of fans, and still be doing crazy shit and living the rock star life on the side. Like, it shouldn't be that way. It's got to be one or the other.
Yeah, he was performing drunk and everything,
Yeah.
Yes, the band was good too. The whole band was good. the music itself was really good, and added with the, like we mentioned, like we both mentioned earlier, like we all mentioned, the charismatic presence of Scott Stapp and his the Jesus thing, I guess if you want to call it that. It worked. There were good songs, and of course, like Bob mentioned too, it was also the downfall. It's why they left him, why they broke up, why they went on to go do their own thing with somebody else. I don't want to call it a double-edged sword with him, but kind of
it's not you, it's me.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work in this situation. But I mean, yeah, it's him both ways.
I find it kind of ironic that we're talking about Creed the same week that Easter just happened, and there's no connection. This is closer to April Fool's as it is an Easter thing, but we're talking about Scott Stapp's God complex, his drug abuse, hanging out with Kid Rock. I feel like he's the type of guy who sees himself bigger than the band. I think that was a downfall. I think why they succeeded is at their first album, which they produced by themselves, though you saw hints of what was to come, they were at least a bit self-aware. They were hungry. I think they knew where they were coming from. Rock at the time was just one shade. It was loud. It was trashy. It was unapologetic, and Creed found the lane for people who still long for that sort of grunge sound and who knew how to be rhythmic. They knew how to be soulful. They sang about things other bands weren't singing about. So they found the lane that nobody else had. I think that's why they're so successful. But then again, you have Scott Stapp, who's drug abuse and philandering and just being a dickhead, just dismantled them at their peak.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy. I think they were at a definite peak. They were at a peak, performing at selling out stadiums all across the world, and they were on top of the world. That once what was the last album that was? Weathered? It was what, not after Human Clay. It was Weathered, and they were still. They were hitting on all cylinders, man. Then it kind of just crashed and burned after that. So it's surprising that it's even more surprising that the band just said, "Fuck you, we're gonna go start another band," and they didn't really rekindle any kind of relationship until years and years later.
Mm-hmm. They released an album in 2009. They haven't released any since, but they have been appearing together. But that was a big gap. 2003, you're on top of the world. Break up. 6 years later, nobody cares about you. Remember, business is so fickle. Here today, gone tomorrow, gone and forgotten. That's exactly what happened to Creed. That misstep ended them.
Yeah, and it's great. And like 2009, it's on the usher. We're on the edge of 2010, that new decade of rock, how it's changing like it always does every decade. So they're the forgotten band, man. Their sound wasn't the same. Like, to keep up, they'd have to change their sound in order to fit that decade, and I don't think it was going to happen.
And you know what, Bob and Joseph, I don't know if you agree with me on this. Had they stayed together, that last album came out 2003. I think they had another maybe 2 albums in them to make themselves that next tier of a band. Like 5 great albums from a band, that's amazing. 3 is good, don't get me wrong, but 5 would have put them on another level.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah! Especially since they were writing such great songs that were so commercial, that like fit movies, they fit commercials, they had weird music videos, but like they were very popular songs on the radio. You know what I mean too. So I think that they were smart about whoever their manager was very smart the way they put those songs together and then placed them in music videos and in commercials and stuff like that. They had a great marketing team, whoever it was. Whoever
was selecting the singles.
Yep.
They were hits. Like the music videos, like you mentioned, like it was perfect. Like it was working.
Speaking of the great hits and the great singles, let's talk about our honorable mentions. Bob, who do you got for us?
I got a few, man. So I got to mention Torn. I know Ken messaged us earlier. He said Torn. It's a good song. It's a very good song. One Last Breath, one of my favorite ones. I think that's a great song. My Own Prison, I think we have to mention that one. That's the first one I heard from them, their lyrics, like we mentioned earlier. With Arms Wide Open, great song. Don't Stop Dancing. I played this one for my wife, and she was like, holy shit, what song is this? And she listened to it through, we were watching the music video, and she was like, I haven't heard that song since, I don't know, high school. Said it had been a long time, and it really is a really great song. I think about kids, and it's good. It's got great lyrics. It's very positive. Weathered, another great song. What's This Life For? Amazing. And then one of the other ones that's really a really hard rock song. Josie, you probably knows one, Overcome.
Yeah. Sorry.
You know Overcome? You remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Josie. He's like, yeah.
More than he wants you to have some enthusiasm.
That's the one from isn't that the one from the Scream soundtrack?
No.
But okay. I'm sorry then. I know which one it is, but I'm trying to remember.
I don't think you do, Joseph. Yeah, it's Creed family. I thought you were.
I think
take off that necklace, sir, and your wife beater.
I think they had a song off of a movie soundtrack. I just don't remember which one it was, and I'm trying to remember.
It's one of our selections.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, then that's the one. Yeah.
The best one.
What do you got for Joseph? Honorable mention.
All right. I got some obvious ones, and real quick, obviously, Torn, Ode, I think is a great fucking song as well. My Own Prison, one. Are You Ready? One Last Breath, Weathered, of course, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know any of the from the most, even though it's 2009, it's the most recent one. Their most recent album, Full Circle. There's a song on that album called A Thousand Faces that I thought was really good. It was it's actually, I don't call it comparable to their other things, but I think it could have been a good single at the time had this album been, released a year or two after Weathered. The title song Weathered from that album is really great too. And of course, I got your songs.
For me, I think we're all in agreement. My Own Prison, it was their breakout hit. It was their first single. I think when Scott Stapp hits that line, I cry out to God, think he only hits that, like, to me, that
sing
was
it,
like,
motherfucker.
I thought we told you to stop.
They want to hear you sing it, Randall.
that line, like, I remember first hearing that and saying, yes, these guys know what the fuck they're doing. They're going to be around for a long time. Obviously, I was wrong. But My Own Prison was the first song that got me hooked. I think a lot of Creed listeners would agree to that one. Torn was a great song. I did they release that one as a single? Because I only remember that one as a single.
That was Natalie Imbruglia.
I don't know if it I don't remember specifically if it was released as a single. Actually, no, it was the second one. It was their second single off of that album. It got released after My Own Prison.
I also liked One. I felt that was a good song. What's This Life For? Which is a very religious connotations on that one.
Yeah.
Pity for a Dime I liked, and One Last Breath. And of course I have year two selections for my honorable mentions. But
that's the reason why they broke up, because of that song Pity for a Dime. That wasn't the title.
What was the original? I'm afraid to ask. What was the original title?
Don't ask.
So we're going to go on to our selections. I'm up first.
Uh-oh.
And I will talk about the best Creed song. And I think the best Creed song is My Sacrifice. Released on October 16th, 2001, as a lead single from their third album, Weathered, this song peaked at number 4 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 chart for the week of February 9, 2002, and reached number 1 on the mainstream rock tracks chart for 9 consecutive weeks. And according to Scott Stapp and Mark Tremonti, they knew that they had written something special that would connect with people and that Creed fans at the time would appreciate it and like it. They didn't think it would become this huge successful hit and stand the test of time. Well, I think it has. I don't know exactly what this song is about, but in reading the lyrics, I think it's a conversation Stapp is having with God, and I'm not sure he had him on speed dial during this year. I mean, he might have. He was that big at the time. I'm sure God was like, not this guy again. That's it. I'm breaking the band up after this album. Why do I love this song? It's just Creed at their absolute pinnacle of pretentiousness. Even the title, this song is My Sacrifice. We took the time to write and record this for you, for your simple ears. You're welcome. Creed bless you. This song just steps out of the car and screams, this is who we are. We've done this for a while. We know who we are. You know our shitty soul patches and cross tattoos. Bask in the glory of how high we're flying together. Give up and give in. I mentioned how Creed they all look like youth pastors. Well, and this is their revival. This is their apex of what defined them as a band. Loud, grandiose, highfalutin, and at the pinnacle of their powers. Best of all, this was their last album, so we all stopped falling for their bullshit after this. Well, they broke up, right? I want to talk about the music video for a minute. This is the type of video that if you're in middle school, you and your friends would perform on a green screen. Creed minus their basses, who knew better by now. He's like, get me out of this fucking video. I'm not going to come out. They're all in the flood. And Scott Stapp is in some sort of canoe and looking back on his life. I'm willing to bet anything he requested to walk on water, but the director had to stop him. He's like, don't fucking walk on water. That's not fucking, people just celebrated Easter, as we mentioned, the resurrection. Scott Stapp at this point, a bit more ridiculous than the Easter Bunny. Anyway, the video is hilariously bad, but it's all these things that make Creed. Like, you can smell the Axe body spray and the hair gel. There are random images that symbolize nothing. A CGI tiger, monks rowing a boat, some sort of merman creatures, mermen, just staring at Scott like, this dude is is this dude all right? Scott has now evolved into making non-humans fans of Creed at this point. It's crazy. There's this one beautiful girl who has like 5 seconds on camera, and Scott Stapp was like, okay, that's enough. Back on me. I'm more beautiful. There's a poor dog paddling in the water. Scott doesn't pull this poor dog up or the beautiful woman up to his canoe. They're drowning. He doesn't pull up this woman. He doesn't pull up this dog. Who does he pull on board? He pulls himself on board. Yes, 2 Scott Stapps. Everybody can drown. They can all drown. I can't let myself drown. I'm Scott Stapp. Get the fuck out of here. I have to wrap up by saying, as much as I admit it, this song elicits some sort of emotional response for me. I'm embarrassed to say it, but yes, I get goosebumps. It does take me back to an interesting time in my life where I started to begin to figure out things after college, and this ridiculous over-the-top song strikes a chord with me. I don't know what it is about this song, guys, but when I hear My Sacrifice, I have to play it loud. I have to think and reflect on my life. I get goosebumps, and I just sink into the song. I don't understand what sort of hold this song has on my interest, but I think it's their best song. What do you think?
I know why he chose it, and in college is right. It was your graduation song, Randall, when you graduated from college. I know it was. He had his, they didn't have AirPods back then, but he had his Walkman on, and he was jamming to this. Tears in his eyes, sacrifice all 7 years of college. How many years, Andy? Because you got your doctoral, 8 years.
A long time.
A long time. Well, this is definitely one of their most popular songs. This is one of their most commercial songs. This is the song that they used, again, at high school graduations, at certain points in movies, in certain commercials where, like, it's that uplifting song. And I think that's what they wrote it for. It's like fucking Green Day selling out and singing Time of Your Life. I hope you have the time. Yeah, you motherfuckers, because they try to sell records. I think that's what this song was, man. And it's laughable. And yes, I'm gonna get to the music video about the flood and him pulling himself up because I had that. I mean,
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But there's definitely a lot of like the religious undertones. We've talked about that in most of their songs. You can get that. This is a really, really good song from them. I don't feel like it's their best. It's not their signature song like we talked about My Own Prison, but this one was extremely popular, man. And I think the lyrics, the religious undertones, the feeling, the chorus, I think that all fit. How commercial was it? All fit to making it one of their most popular songs. You can see this song or you can hear this song in different movies and different commercials. Definitely at graduations. I know I've mentioned that plenty. The thing that freaked me out wasn't just Randall that he doesn't save anybody else but himself from the water, from the flood, but that he turns into an old man at the end of the music video, and it kind of freaked me out. I was like, what the fuck? He kind of looked like Gene Hackman in Young Frankenstein, Wait, where are you going? I was going to make espresso. Yeah, that one. He kind of looks like Gene Hackman. He looks weird. Like I didn't get that turning point, and I was watching it with my wife, and she was like, "Does he turn into God?" Like, I don't get it. He did. He turned into an old man because he's walking away like he turned into God. It's just weird. It's a lot of weirdness, and I think this is where you said it, Rand, earlier, where he started to believe his own hype. Mm-hmm. Like, he started to think he's above and beyond, like, I don't know, like most rock stars do. You know what I mean? They get the big head, then they start, I am the band, I am, you know what I mean? He starts diving too much into the religious lyrics because he knows that's what's selling at that point in time. So it was popular, yes. Very commercial, yes. It's a good song, yes. But I don't think it was their best song. Yeah, but that's my take on it. Joseph, what do you think?
I think this is actually a really good song. I really like the opening guitar intro and when the band comes in. This is the perfect montage song. Mm-hmm. And how do I know this? Because WWF did an awesome tribute promo to the fans and the wrestlers with this song as the backdrop, and it was perfect. They were really pushing this album. They were really promoting this single. I mean, they used it for it's great. Go if you're a wrestling fan like we are, go back and watch that promo on YouTube. It's the entire song, and it's just cut with great action clips from the WWE of the past, the Attitude Era that we grew up and love. It's perfect. It's that gives you goosebumps because we were such big fans of that.
You know what gives Vince McMahon goosebumps?
Don't say it.
Just a question I was asking. I don't know.
I like what Bob said about, it's a graduation song. That's true. It's very much got also that vibe of like, it's the new beginning song. It's the song you play.
It's the next step.
Cheers to the next step. Exactly. Perfect. It does have a presence to it and an ability to lift you up. And that's cool. That's great. It was a big hit, very commercially successful. I think it's very, very similar to my selection. So I will say it's been done before. And did it work? Sure, it worked. It worked again.
It
Lightning
sells.
struck twice. It sold. Yes, exactly. But it had already been done.
Lightning did strike, but it missed Scott Stapp, unfortunately.
They kind of took that REO Speedwagon formula when they did I'm Gonna Keep On Loving You and then followed up with I Can't Fight This Feeling. Once you got a hit, you have to replicate it. So that's a great point, Joseph. And I do remember that WWF clip. I always remember Jeff Hardy because he looks like he would listen to Creed, So I always picture Jeff Hardy. I'm sorry, were you still
No. I was good.
Jeff Hardy wore the white beater as well.
Yeah.
So we'll go on with our next selection. And one similar, Joseph, what do you got for us?
I picked Higher as my selection for this topic. It's the lead single from their second album, Human Clay, a much more financially successful album than their debut, which is not a bad thing in any way. That's actually a great thing to considering how good the first album was. As a band, you're hoping your next album does as good or better, and this one surpassed that. Anyway, I picked Higher due to its undoubtable notoriety. It's the quintessential Creed song, in my opinion. It's the one I believe they're most famous for, the one they'll go down for in history. It's the song that took them to the next level. My Own Prison is a very good song on a good album in its own right. But like I said, clearly Human Clay was its own beast, and I feel that was made possible off of the back of this song. This album, I believe, went 11 times platinum thanks to the success of this album. This song. I read a lot of YouTube quotes about how this song was the song that introduced people to Creed and how they'll always be thankful for that, and to the band. It helped them, go back and check out the first album, which I think is cool for fans to do. Musically, it's a good song. I'll admit it's not my favorite Creed song, and I know y'all are probably going to use that against me right now. Musically, I think Torn from the first album is great, along with My Own Prison, like we've mentioned. But My Own Prison was easily comparable to anything Pro Jam. And this is where I'm going to throw back to that first question. How do I know that? Because I did that. Our local radio station was doing a giveaway for a Pro Jam concert, I think in Austin. This is around the time My Own Prison came out. And when they played a Pro Jam song, you had to call and be like the 10th caller to win the tickets or to get in the drawing for the tickets. I don't remember what it was. So I hear My Own Prison. Never heard it before in my life, and I think it's Pro Jam. I think
it's Eddie Vedder.
I think it's Eddie Vedder. I think it's some Pro Jam song that I've never heard because
run to the nearest payphone with his quarter, folks.
Quickly grab my rotary telephone and and called my local radio station, and they answered. And yeah, they were the Q94.5, and I said, "What number am I?" And they said,
the wrong one.
This is Creed, man. This is Creed. I was like, oh, okay. And they completely kind of mentioned it after, My Own Prison song ended. They're like, the DJ came on like an asshole and was like, no, ladies and gentlemen, that is not Pro Jam. And I was like, this son of a bitch. I don't know who it was.
At least he didn't say your name.
He said, if you called in thinking it was Pro Jam, don't feel bad. You're one of like maybe 10. So I was like, okay, that's my first experience listening to Creed. Sorry to take up some time here with that.
That's a good story.
Higher is its own thing. It's the breakthrough hit. It was their first song to reach the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100, peaked at number 7, but spent 57 weeks on that survey. It's the longest stay for any Creed song, and that includes your 2 selections as well. It's a power song, so to speak. It's uplifting, it's motivational, it's anthemic, it's the pump up song to get the crowd going in a stadium. If you're in the middle of something, athletic, maybe a workout, or you're in, a lovemaking session, who knows? If you're feeling, sorry for yourself and you need that spark to get over the hill or to rise, to the occasion, so to speak, this is your jam, man. This is the one. Aside from all that, and again, it's the most memorable, most recognizable. It's always going to find new life in a new era. Most recently, it was used in a Super Bowl commercial for a streaming service I will not name because we're not getting paid to promote them. But it was a fun commercial. It was a funny commercial. It was probably one of the best ones. It's the 5th quarter, and we need a hole in one before the 7th inning stretch. Be brave. Patrick Stewart, sir. Patrick Stewart, ladies and gentlemen. Do you remember this commercial? Did you see this commercial?
I did.
He's getting ready to throw Arnold. That's what he whispers to him. be brave, because he's about to chuck him. And boom, Higher is playing in the background, and featuring Creed, featuring Scott Stapp and what's his name, the guitar player? Can't remember.
Mark Tremonti.
Mark Tremonti, thank you. They actually get to come out in the commercial and actually even have Sir Patrick Stewart sing a modified line from the song. He sings, "I just threw him higher to a place where we won't freeze." Perfect. You got Sir Patrick singing some form of modified version of your best song, your most number one successful hit, in my opinion. You've done something good. And now that's why I selected this song. Quit hitting the table.
I didn't. My phone fell off the table.
Out of anger. Yes.
Out of anger. Okay, Joseph,
he's ready to go. He's ready to go.
Let's cut the bullshit, Joseph. Let's just cut the bullshit. Joseph only loves this song because Creed sang this song at halftime of a Dallas Cowboys game, and one could call the worst lip singing of all time at a live event. And not only that,
Thanksgiving
Joseph,
game, right?
Yeah, the Thanksgiving game. Not only that, Joseph, when all the band members were dressed like rock stars, there comes Scott Stapp in fucking dirty Adidas sweatpants and a Tony Romo jersey tucked in, which is beyond me. Why the fuck would you tuck in a jersey, nerd? This is the only reason why Joseph loves this song, folks. He was like, "They're gonna take me higher. We're going to the Super Bowl," and then it didn't quite go the way it planned. Anyways, I'm just fucking around. This is I agree with you 1,000,000% that this is probably their most recognized song. Very popular, very commercial, very uplifting, very happy to compare to something like My Own Prison or even My Sacrifice. My Sacrifice, I felt like
very comparable.
Yeah, My Sacrifice. Rand could agree. Like Rand was like, "This is too much about like me. Like, oh, look what I'm sacrificing." It wasn't very. Some people saw it as uplifting, and some people saw it as like, "All right, dude, Scott Stapp, you need to take it down a notch." I think this was definitely uplifting. Got some great lyrics. Very popular though. Very poppy and too popular, too poppy for my taste. Creed has put out some harder rock songs, or they have a mix of both, and Higher was just, I don't know, man, especially after that halftime performance where they had the dudes swinging on the flags with no shirts on, and then they had Scott Stapp singing and being very emotional while he's lip syncing, and it just, I don't know, it completely ruined this song for me. And not the fact that he was wearing a Cowboys jersey. It had nothing to do with it. His overacting, his over singing into a mic that shut off was just, it throws me off. Can you take me higher? You seem like you're high enough. Okay. We had a band in high school that sang this at the talent show, and his voice couldn't quite get higher. So it was pretty funny. That made our day. I think this is a really great song, man. I really do. It may be Creed's most recognized and most popular song, but it's nowhere near on the top of my list. I think it's too much.
Did I hear correctly? Did you say this is also a lovemaking song? Did I hear that correct? I mean,
I said put it on where needed. I said,
can you take me higher?
It means Christ. As needed.
The girl she'll say, "Let's make our escape. You get the fuck out of this guy's bedroom."
Some asshole was putting this on back in those days.
I will say linemen see or with linemen see, Joseph.
I used to always think, because we played football. I'm sorry, we're cutting it around.
Go ahead.
We played football in high school. And we used to make our own line there. We're taking me to a place where linemen sing, and we used to like make fun of a friend of ours on the line who was in the choir. So he did sing.
He reached out to me recently.
He didn't get laid either.
I will say this. You said lineman. There's no bigger lineman than Scott Stapp at this point of their career. I will say this. Released on August 31st off their 1999 Human Clay album. It reached number 7 on the Billboard charts, as you mentioned, Joseph. And according to an interview with Loudwire in an episode of Wikipedia Fact or Fiction, Mark Tremonti revealed that this song was a culmination of improvising live on stage. Vocalist Scott Stapp and longtime friend Stephen Harang wrote this song about the power of lucid dreaming. In another episode of Loudwire's Fact or Fiction, Stapp stated that the inspiration for this song came from a recurring dream that he had, endless present nightmares that he's having. Stapp would be hunted down and killed by an unknown assailant brandishing a firearm in these dreams. That must have been from someone who brought tickets to a Creed concert. I don't know. But anyway, this was
$100 for this shit.
This was their major breakthrough hit. I would say this is their signature song. It's also where the wheels started to fall off, in my opinion. And it happens right when Stapp belts out, "'Cause there's a hunger, a longing to escape."
That's 3 strikes, Randy.
Sing it.
The first release of this was their first release off their second album after a successful first album, a surprisingly successful first album. If you ever met anyone who's never listened to Creed, first of all, lucky them. This is the song you must play them. And I don't mean that as a compliment. Check out this band. This is the song that would represent Creed. I think this song exemplifies what the band became known for. And that sucks because sonically, it's not a bad song sonically. Mark Tremonti is a hell of a guitarist. I know he plays some metal, Joseph. Brian Marshall and Scott Phillips, both talented musicians. Scott Stapp with his personality, behavior, and theatrics. Yes, he was a huge part of their success, but also a huge part of why the band can never be taken seriously. That's why when Creed minus Stapp formed the Alter Bridge with Miles Kennedy, they sounded better, but they weren't as big because Stapp's curse is also the band's blessing, like David Lee Roth. This is a song that wholeheartedly exemplifies that. It was their people seem to like us, so let's go and get more ridiculous and let's get more pop and mix in rock song. More money, more popularity and production doesn't always equate better. The video, nothing pretentious at all. Just four guys walking on stage as if they're the most important band in the world. I love how they ignore all the beautiful women in the dressing room by trying to look beautiful themselves, right? I'm sorry, hot model. This song and my nipple rings are far too important to listen to your babble. Scott Stapp's chest hair had to have its own personal assistant. It's the most memorable image we have.
Sounds like jealousy to me.
It's the most memorable image we have of him, with a white undershirt, chain necklace, and Sho'nuff's pants from The Last Dragon. He has all the energy of a little league coach in the video too, just bouncing around. I think they performed this, and Bob, it was a halftime show, right? Dallas Cowboys Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the Thanksgiving games.
Daryl Johnson retired in the locker room as this was happening, by the way. He just couldn't come out. Anyway, I love that the 2023 Texas Rangers found inspiration from it for their World Series run. But other than a hokey novelty song, I can't really get into it. But I do agree it is their signature song.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And this is and my only thing to add to this is I'm usually full on selecting what I think and not doing, the obvious.
What the popular pick is.
What the popular pick would be, or what the obvious based on, numbers and money and whatnot. I actually decided to go with that. Go with, that premise for this election. And I mentioned it in my little, shtick here, was that it's sonically, it's I do think it's a good song. Musically, it's not my favorite, but there's no denying it. It's the song. It's the song that, like I mentioned, that was used in a commercial. Like, let's put Creed in a commercial. Let's put Creed in a Super Bowl commercial. What song are they gonna play? Higher.
Most recognizable Creed song.
It's most recognizable.
Yes, but when they put it on, are you going to change the goddamn radio dial?
Well, I didn't, because Sir Patrick. Oh, I'm sorry. You're talking about the commercial. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
the
not
radio.
the song.
Radio.
Yeah, it's a dial. It's a remote control, sir.
Let's go on with Bob's selection. What do you got?
Talk about
first?
Miles Kennedy later. By the way.
Yeah, we got him coming up. What you got, Bob?
Go, Bob.
Jesus Christ, I'm going. I went in a different direction with.
Let's make our escape, bro.
Let's make our escape. Yes, I went in a different direction. I did also choose a song that was released off the Human Clay album in 1999. I went with What If. Human Clay album was a great album. I mean, it had With Arms Wide Open, it had Higher, it had Are You Ready? And of course, it had What If. Now, if you love Creed, but you also are more into the heavier side of rock, this is the jam for you, man. This song right here is their hardest song. It has a great hard rock riff by Mark Tremonti. I mean, I think he's extremely underrated. As fantastic as Scott Stapp is, Mark Tremonti's guitar play and his solos and those little melodies that he created in riffs in his songs made the songs also instantly recognizable as well. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. This riff, though, in my opinion, is his best. It's their hardest. The music video as well. This one wasn't a cheesy one. This one was actually pretty fucking cool. It came out in the Scream 3 soundtrack. So throughout the music video, they're getting chased by Ghostface, and at the end, it ends up Ghostface was actually like Scott Stapp, like the members of the band in it. It was actually a pretty cool video. Dewey, what's his name, comes out in it?
David Arquette.
Well, David Arquette. Yeah, it's a great music video. But this song, though, man, it's different, and there's no melody to it. There's no like commercial poppy chorus to it that everybody could sing along with, that's gonna make it for the commercials. This was their hard rock song. This is the kind of shit that I was into at that point in time in 1999 and 2000 when we were in high school. So this song really sticks out to me as being different, and this is a route they could have continued to go if they weren't singing songs with so many religious undertones, if they weren't trying to be the most popular song on the radio, I think this is the kind of song, What If, that could have changed their tone, that could have allowed them to continue to make music in 2003, 2004, 2005 ahead of their time, because it was hard rock. And as we know from bands like new metal that came out in 2001, 2002, 2003 with like the Deftones, with System of a Down, with Korn, with different bands like that, Creed playing harder and being able to jam, also being in quite popular. You're in one of the biggest horror movies of 2003, which is Scream 3. Like, their popularity was through the roof if they continued to make hard rock music like that, instead of going with that poppy, comfortable, easy to sell commercial records that'll put you in a commercial. I think they would have been great. This is one of their favorites, my favorite songs of theirs of all time. It's got a great sound. It's got a great tone. It's completely different from what I'm used to. And I think that's why it stands out, man. I think if people were to listen to them back to back, especially people that are really into hard rock, it's a great song, man. I really, really love it. This song fucking jams, and you know, it's badass. So what do y'all think about it?
So this is Creed's Helter Skelter is what I'm getting from this song. This song is...
I can agree with that.
This song is Creed getting heavy, right? I mean, now we did it. We've pissed them off. So here they are heavy. This was their second straight single off Human Clay right after Higher, because when we were just getting over one omnipresent overplayed Creed song, another one comes in and takes its place. So not only does Higher elevate Creed into a hated band, now they want to rock out, trying to find their identity, and that's what If was. It's not a bad song. I completely agree with you, Bob. I think you made some fair, intelligent points about it being of the time and it being comparable to some of these other bands who were releasing similar type of songs. I'm sorry, this is the song real, true to life, unashamed Creed fans love the most, I think. I think if you're listening to Creed from a rock perspective and you ask people what is their best rock song, I think a lot of people will say What If. This song reminds me a bit of Pearl Jam, the sound, the Yarling vocal. So I'm surprised you liked it, because I know you don't like Pearl Jam.
He enunciates though, sir.
In this song, Scott Stapp sings about those who oppress the band with their words and their hatred. He seems to be referring to the media and critics who lashed out at Creed and asked what would they do if they were faced in a similar situation. So it's a message song as well. So this song sparked a lot of, I guess you could say, interest and dialogue towards Creed critics and the band being aware that they were seen as this novelty faux rock band. Creed was dissed because a lot of their songs were based on conversion narratives and Scott Stapp having this God complex. This song amplified those notions. So Human Clay goes 2 for 2 on the album's first 2 songs, on Self-Righteousness and Annoyance, but the song does rock. Even though the lyrics are a little pretentious, it does rock. Funny bit of research I found. When American Idol contestant Chris Daughtry sang this song on the show in 2006, Simon Cowell told him, "There's a line you don't cross. Creed would not be seen dead on this show." I mean, he was right about Taylor Hicks, right? He tried to warn us. I will say that the video was actually a fun watch. The Scream tie-in was great, very nostalgic. It wasn't a terrible video. The wind machines, as always, in full effect for Creed. I can do without the basketball dunks. I mean, come on. You could have gotten rid of the basketball.
At least there was no CGI mountains or like scenery. You know what I mean? I hate when they do that.
No, I may not like the song as much, but if you put this song on at 1 a.m. in a bar, everyone isn't going to be in their right mind, of course. So this is like a 1 a.m. when the bar is winding down, 1:30, you put on this song, that's going to be everybody's favorite song. When you're drunk off your ass, put on a Creed song, put on this Creed song. I guarantee you'll fall in love with it, at least for those 5 minutes when you're completely shit-faced out of your mind. Okay, I'm going to make some horrible decisions as this night comes to its conclusion. Why can't I enjoy Creed, and why can't it be one of those horrible decisions? To be fair, I think if you put the song in the capable hands of a popular band at the time, like, say, Crossfade, who we talked about a few episodes ago, Live or Collective, so nobody bats an eye. They would say, well, this is a great song by a Crossfade or one of these other, but it's Creed, so let's condemn them. Let's criticize them because they're the butt of the rock mainstream jokes, but people are still buying their albums. We don't know why. I think Creed may be unfairly judged on this song because of who they are. And that sucks for them. Right now, Nickelback would say, yeah, like us with Photograph, right? No. Not even Plant and Page in their prime could have salvaged that tune. But I do think this is a good song. It definitely rocks. It's not my favorite Creed song, but I think it is the rock fans' favorite Creed song. What do you think, Joseph, as a rock fan?
When I selected Higher, I mentioned, and when I was talking about it, how it's yeah, I read a lot of stuff about it being the song that introduced people to Creed. I mean, that video was massive. It was played numerous times on MTV. So if you didn't know who they were at the time, you were going to know who they were then because it was overplayed. Knowing the first album, songs like "Oh," that's another great heavy song, not as heavy as this one. And so I think this was, as much as we like it, I know as much as Bob liked it, I think Bob selected this song off the premise of a personal preference, as far as the music. It's a great heavy hard rock song. There are other ones too. I think this is the one that most fans, not more like us, fans that were more just into Creed because of With Arms Wide Open, the more, I don't want to call them softer songs, but this was probably one that was skipped over a lot. It was a great tie-in with and horror movies and hard rock music go hand in hand. I think that works out all the time, 100%. It was very reminiscent of when I hear this, and when I went back to it and then listening to it again, I was reminded of, I really liked the reverbed harmonic guitar tones that reminded me of Down from Stone Temple Pilots, that similar style. I don't think this is their heaviest song. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Another song that I forgot to mention was Bullets, the second single released after My Sacrifice. That's another heavy Creed rock song that sounds very similar to STP.
Can I interrupt you just
sure,
1 second,
man.
just really quick? Oh my God!
Talk about Creed all you want.
No. I want to talk about this because you mentioned it, folks. If you haven't seen the music video for Creed Bullets, I need you to jump on YouTube, folks, and just take it. If you thought Scott Stapp was pretentious before, imagine him as a CGI archangel battling demons with a sword, and they're shooting bullets at him, and he's dodging them, and he's stabbing them and smiting them with his sword. That it's just, and it's like shitty CGI, like the one that used to be on your computer when you were in high school. It's like that. So if you haven't seen the music video for Bullets, please go do so and have yourself a hell of a laugh and be like, "What the fuck is this shit?" moment. Okay, go back to Joseph.
No, that's funny. It's. I mean, because they ended up doing. I think the next song after this was the next song after this single was with our hold one last that song Hold Me Now. So they did that video. Yeah. He was too. Yeah, this was too much for him to do a video, right? Anyway, What If is a song that you can introduce to somebody like at the time, or who you can introduce to somebody now who's never heard of Creed, and they would see stark differences between my selection, Randy's selection, and Bob's. They would think that, like, I personally, I honestly think they would think they're different bands. It's a great song. I do like this song personally. Go as far as saying it sounds better than my song on a personal level, on a personal preference level, and it's a great selection. I just, like I said, I based mine off of. I think people were more into the next single off of, and it's because they're, like I said, not everybody is like us. Not everybody has the same music taste like us. We liked it because we were into hard rock, and I think people that bought this album probably that weren't there was probably a lot of fans that skipped it and just went to the next single, which was With Arms Wide Open.
God damn it, Josie, you should have done it like Roxette and just listened to your heart. You would have picked this great song.
Arms Wide Open.
But it is a great song. It is a great song. It's a great selection. It really is. I loved the whole tie-in with the Scream thing. I thought it was a great video too. I know I didn't talk about that much, but it was perfect. Like I said, hard rock and horror movies or slasher movies go hand in hand.
Other than, I know we've joked about this song, but we haven't really delved into Arms Wide Open, which is probably their second most popular song. Why isn't Arms Wide Open? Why wasn't it mentioned for our honorable mention? Is it just a bad song?
No, I mentioned it in my honorable mention.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. I did. I did with Arms Wide Open.
I didn't. I go ahead, Bob.
That one might be. It's very sad. Again, religious undertones in all the lyrics. It's like
him
somebody
being a father, right?
confessing
about
their
him being
sins.
a father. Yeah.
It's about him being a father, but also like it feels like he's confessing his sins to God and like asking for forgiveness and being forgiven, and there's a lot of that. And I don't know, it might be. It's a great song. Don't get me wrong. It was one of my own mentions. It really is a great song. I just don't think it's their best song, but it really is a great song.
I think it's good for, like you said, it's good for what it is. It's got a great message. If you're in a similar situation, or if it means something to you in that manner. It's not the song, and this is just personal preference. It's not the song that I want to cruise down the street with. It's not the song that I'm going to play at a stadium to lift me higher.
Can they get you higher?
It's I don't. I would say I'd be lying if I said that I didn't drive around in early, because let's see, what the first album came out in 99, so let's say 99 2000. We were already driving at the time, I think. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't driving around with My Own Prison and stuff like that. This is probably a song that I wasn't driving around, with blasting in my car. So
you have to be
in your bedroom at night too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why, like, there's nothing against the song. It's just not on my honorable mention.
It's kind of like Celine Dion goes rock, and you can't really just melt
She's
into
not
it.
rock.
How do we go for it?
I will say this, getting closer to the end here. Alter Bridge, for those of you who don't know, Alter Bridge was Creed minus Scott Stapp. By the way, when Scott Stapp formed his own band, he sounded more like Creed by himself than Creed did with Scott Stapp. But what were your thoughts on Alter Bridge? Miles Kennedy. I thought they were a better band, but I only know like 2 songs. Metalingus, Open Your Eyes were the 2 big hits. I guess you could say I'm not a big fan of theirs, but I thought they sounded better than Creed. What were your thoughts on them?
No, I disagree. I thought they sounded exactly like Creed. I'm not a fan of Miles Kennedy's voice. I'm not saying that he can't sing. If you don't know who Miles Kennedy is, I believe he sang all the songs for the movie Rockstar, the Mark Wahlberg Rockstar movie, where he's like he joins he replaces the lead singer, Steel Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And then he actually makes an appearance at the end of the film where he supposedly takes over. I am not saying he is a bad singer. He's just personally it's not my taste in vocals. I think they sounded, that Open Your Eyes song was just cut and paste Creed song without Scott Stapp's better vocals. I only really know that one song. Did they just have that one album?
Well, Metalingus, Edge's theme song, Edge's ring entrance music.
Oh, that's
Alter Bridge, yeah.
No, but didn't he have that? Oh, wait. His like okay. Not his original entrance.
Yeah.
The song that he would come out with all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to take too much time on Miles Kennedy. I just don't think, because he has his band called, I think it's Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. And when he does stuff with Slash, they perform and tour as Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. And I'm like, you are not anywhere on par with Slash to be where Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. No, you're just on tour with Slash. Just say you're on tour with Slash. You're the touring vocalist for Slash. It's kind of like a little mini Scott Stapp. I think this guy he thinks he's way more than he actually is. How could you not if you're naming your band Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators? Anyway, that's just my rant on that dude.
When you have a last name like Kennedy, sir, you make sure everybody knows it.
Bob, were you a fan of Alter Bridge?
Nah, not really.
All right. Short and sweet.
Yeah, short and sweet. Joe's like, I'm not going to talk a lot. And
I only know that one song. I'm sorry. I only know that one song, and it sounded exactly like Creed.
Okay.
I will say this.
We're done. There,
Creed,
we'll move on.
Creed had 5 strong years. Creed had 5 strong years, as we noted. They broke up when they were still a very popular band, even though they were very much of their time. Guys, what is Creed's legacy as a rock band?
I do think they are Hall of Fame worthy. I'm
Really?
not saying.
Oh.
I do. With the numbers, look, okay, you got to factor in the success as well. Whether we,
they are letting everybody in. So
this is the hottest take we've had on this show. But explain, Joseph.
Well, I mean, come on, like, let's be real here. They sold millions and millions of records. You telling me that isn't okay? I understand there are musicians.
So did Gangnam Style, Joseph.
I understand there are great musicians, or there's musicians in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that really didn't do shit, but people obviously respect them. I think they're going to find I think it's a tragedy that Stone Temple Pilots isn't in at this point, but I'm not saying it needs to happen now, but it will happen now, but at some point years later, I do think they're going to find they were highly successful. They were very popular. They had a charismatic frontman, like most bands that get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's something about that band, and Scott Stapp was that guy. Whether he was,
what you're looking for is wrong, Joseph. You're wrong.
whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, he was that guy for this band, and they had their moment. They had I mean, I know you can look at it as a successful 5-year career, and they could have been more maybe, but I think they will. I really do think they will. And yes, to add to what Bob said, they're kind of letting almost anybody in nowadays. So really, I mean, sure, yeah, I can see them being there at some point, in the next maybe 15 years.
Interesting. What do you
I
think,
respectfully disagree with that bullshit. There's.
I'm not saying I want it to happen. I'm saying it will happen.
I mean, there's good bands, and then there's great bands, and then there's Hall of Fame bands. And I don't think a 5-year career and 3 albums, just because you were popular within those 5 years and then you like crash and burned after that, I don't think that gets you into the Hall of Fame. Again, I did say, they are letting in people that are not even rock stars into kind of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which has me like, you haven't added, a band like Stone Temple Pilots in, but you're adding these bands or these stars that are not even rock stars. So it's kind of confusing. It's kind of become a popularity contest. And so having said all that, they're a very good band. They're a very popular band. They put out a shitload of good hits. I mean, they really, really did. Within 3 albums, I mean, they had at least 6 or 7 hits were pretty big. But I think they're a really great band. I don't think they're Hall of Fame worthy, again, Joe. But I think they're good. They're a good enough band to be great. Maybe we could say that. We could throw them in the great category. A really good band in that decade, in that era, in that time.
Creed had those strong 5 years, but they were in an important strong 5 years. This wasn't a band that was big in 1984 and then fizzled out in 1989. This was a band that was big at the turn of the millennium. You're talking about 1997 to 2002. Those were 5 very important years of rock because you had so many things that were coming up and going down in terms of internet popularity, in terms of, pop music was evolving, rock music was changing, and Creed had a stranglehold on 5 very important years of music. People are always going to put Scott Stapp at the forefront, and that's fair. Even though they had talented musicians, and Mark Tremonti is a hell of a guitar player and a hell of a writer, everybody's going to pinpoint Scott Stapp. And there are a ton of things Scott Stapp has done, from appearing drunk and high on television to starting a fist fight with 311 to jumping off a balcony and being saved by T.I. of all people, to horrible things he did to people, and of course hanging around Kid Rock, which is
T.I. is a saint, sir.
He is forever the face and the sound of Creed, is Scott Stapp. If you read his biography, his father left their family when Scott was 5. He left them poor and on welfare. His mom remarried a dentist who was ultra religious. But he was also very abusive, both physically and emotionally, to Scott. And this was his stepfather. Not
a joke that he meant to say, folks. He was really trying to be serious here.
So in a way, a huge influence on the music came from a very cold and dark and somber place from Scott Stapp, because he took his stepfather's last name, followed his religious upbringing through his stepfather, who was, I mean, some nightmarish stories. Like, he pulled out Scott Stapp's teeth. He said, "Your baby teeth aren't coming out." And he yanked out all his teeth one time. And I don't think he even used like the proper Novocaine. I remember Scott Stapp said it was the worst pain of his life. So he was abused by this man. And a lot of this, and then, taking his religion, I think there was a lot of dichotomy there. There was a lot of cognitive dissonance with Scott Stapp trying to be a rock star and trying to reconciliate all these experiences that he's had. Stapp and Tremonti were just 2 guys from Florida State University who both loved music. They clawed their way to produce their first record, My Own Prison, and hustled to get it reproduced by a big production company. If anything, you have to admire Creed for persevering to get a record deal. I think the band still had that hunger, and Stapp just lost focus. I think that's when it went downhill. I think after Weather, they could have put out another 2 or 3 albums. I think they could have hung around a few more years, and then maybe we could start talking about, were they one of the biggest bands of at least that decade? Now, their legacy is a huge boom, huge burn, and that hurts them more than the self-righteousness, I think. I think the crash and burn hurts a lot more than the self-righteousness in their song. But, and I know a lot of people are going to be listening to this thinking that, hey, you know what, we're going to make a lot of jokes about how silly and bad and awful they were, but you can't deny that Creed had a huge moment in the sun, and they were one of the most popular bands of that era.
Just to add to what you said, I don't think, I think we actually spoke very positive of them. To the people listening, if you think we did, above all, seems like, you know, when they ended, the rest of the band found some mild success. Good for them. Above all, it seems like they're all in a better place. It seems like from what I've seen, I don't read up on Scott Stapp, but just, you know, the stuff that we do see that gets published, it seems like he's in a better place. They seem like they're reunited right now, right? Like I haven't heard anything of a new album, or I know people were hoping for a tour.
I know that in 2020 they did like a live concert from their homes because we're in quarantine to raise money for children, and I thought that was pretty fucking cool, dude. I actually caught some of it this past weekend. Really, really cool stuff, dude. And each of them were in their own homes, and they played songs together to raise money. I thought it was really cool.
And specifically, I know we made jokes about Scott Stapp, but we also praised him as well. Above all, like I said, it seems like he's in a better place, and we wish him, you know, nothing but health and just, you know, a better and more happy life. And two, because I was able to look this up. Miles Kennedy did not sing the vocals for the Rockstar album. It was actually Milienko Metajevic, the lead singer for Steelheart. I just wanted to get that correct because I'd feel like an asshole if I got that wrong.
Hopefully nobody turned it off when you made that other point. Hey, these guys are wrong. You know, Joseph made up for it. Thank you guys so much. It's a great episode. This was fun talking about a band that doesn't get its due diligence, and I appreciate you guys for taking
better than Nickelback. That's for sure.
Better than Nickelback. Yeah, I think you guys both took the listeners
Not as catchy.
That's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what you think the best Creed song is. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com and follow us on all forms of social media by searching for Formidable Opponents. We want to thank Creative Little Pill for her great artwork. Please follow her on Instagram at Creative Little Pill. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on any podcast platform you're listening to us on. Join us next episode. We'll be back next week with Best Frontman of the 80s. So for Bob and Joseph, see y'all next week.
So let's go there. Let's make our escape, guys.
No.